Hello there and welcome to the Business Interview. I'm Marcus Carlson. Today we're talking about travel. If you've ever been backpacking, there's a good chance that you've used tips from a guidebook. Lonely Planet is almost synonymous with travel advice, and this year the brand is marking its 40th anniversary. The travel guide was founded by Tony Wheeler and his wife Maureen after a trip that took them from London to Sydney on a shoestring. 40 years down the line, more than 100 million Lonely Planets have been sold worldwide. Tony Wheeler is right here in the studio with us. And also here is Frédéric Sarfati, who is the general manager of Lonely Planet in France. So welcome to the both of you. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's start with you, Tony. You made this life-changing trip back in the 1970s, and then you founded Lonely Planet. 40 years down the line, did you expect to see the brand where it is now?
Not at all. The first book we did was really an accident. We did the trip, and at the end of this trip, we drove an old car from London to Afghanistan. We carried on by every means of travel possible. We ended up in Sydney in Australia. And then we thought, somebody should do a book about this. But that wasn't a plan. We hadn't set out thinking we were going to write a book and set up a business. So everything that's happened since then has been amazingly surprising.
I have to ask about the name, Lonely Planet. Where does it come from?
Well, it's a great name, isn't it? Actually, it comes out of a song from a rock and roll band on the road film. And the Joe Cocker, who sings the song, actually sings about a lovely planet. And I misheard it, and I thought he sang Lonely Planet. So really, it's been a 40-year mistake.
All right. It's a pretty good mistake, though, you have
It is
to
a good
admit,
one.
I suppose. Frédéric, let's turn to you, because you're looking at this from a publisher's perspective at the travel market. What makes a good travel guide from your perspective? What sort of sells?
Well, I mean, what we like to do with travel guides is to give trips and advice that will make that will help the travelers to have a great experience wherever they are. So what they would like is a lot of culture and history, and they want a lot of addresses, point of interest that they can visit, eat, sleep. And they like to find something which is unique, and they have the feeling that where they are here, they wouldn't have found it without the guide.
So you have to strike that balance between perhaps the history of a place with practical hints and practical advice.
Yeah, that's one of the strengths of Lonely Planet, is to give both, so that readers can have everything they need.
Now, you're in charge of Lonely Planet here in France and in French.
Yeah.
Do you think that travelers that read Lonely Planet in French, are they different from people reading your guidebooks in English or in German or Spanish, for instance?
No, I think there are some specificities with the French travelers. They are very attached to the charms of the place they go to and the food, for instance. And the good news is that I think this focus has become a main interest for all travelers in the world. That is to say, English travelers, for instance, they were not so interested in food a few years ago, and now they just have the same taste. So that's a great news for us, and it helped us a lot to grow Lonely Planet in France.
Tony, do you agree with that? Are travelers becoming more and more alike?
They are in some ways and they aren't in others. I don't think anybody comes to France and doesn't think, despite all the international influence, that this isn't a unique country, that it's uniquely French. So there are things that do stay the same, but also we do look for the same things. If we go to India, we all want to see the Taj Mahal wherever we come from. If we go to France, we want to have a great French meal and drink French wine wherever we come from. So there are some things that are unique for each destination or each nationality traveling, and there are some things which are the same.
You sold off Lonely Planet a few years back, and the company is now owned by the American firm NC2 Media. You're still part of Lonely Planet, though. Why is that?
Well, I think I'm going to spend the rest of my life saying, oh, that's Tony Wheeler, the person who helped found Lonely Planet. So I'm stuck with that in a way. And the things they ask me to do are often very interesting. If someone says, come to France and talk about the business you used to own, who wouldn't say no? And I'm doing the same thing in China in a few weeks' time. And that's an opportunity that you jump at.
So you're a brand ambassador, so to speak.
I am a brand ambassador, and I'm very proud of it. And I think it's like your children. They grow up and they leave home, and you have no responsibility for them anymore. But for the rest of your life, you're going to worry about them, and you're going to be proud when they do well and worry when they don't.
But how in touch are you with the day-to-day running of the business, so to speak?
Not at all. I have no role in the business. I keep an eye on what they do. I can sort of would tell you what the latest books are, but that's the same sort of thing that anybody could do.
Let's talk about the travel industry. How has it changed in the past 40 years or so?
You know, it's changed in all sorts of ways, and people, they like to point at the fact that airlines will fly you more places and at less cost than they used to, and that there are more aircraft going everywhere. We all like to point at the internet and saying, well, you can research things yourself and book things yourself. But I think the biggest change in the last 40 years has been the places that have more opened than closed. There are places that have closed off. I went through Afghanistan in the 70s, and I've actually been back about 5 years ago, but Afghanistan is definitely not a tourist destination anymore in any way. On the other hand, China, which was completely closed off, is now the biggest in the world, both ingoing and outgoing. I think it's just overtaken France. If it hasn't, it will soon.
Frédéric,